Okay, so you want to get into Chicago? Commercial real estate. Smart move. It's a city just bursting with opportunity, and we've got the inside scoop from a true Chicago real estate pro, Michael Linton.
Absolutely.
He's been in the game for over 38 years, and trust me, this guy, he knows his stuff.
Yeah, he's seen it all.
We're talking insider strategies for beginners, the kind of advice they don't teach in those real estate investing 101 seminars.
Right.
By the way, if you want to check out more from Michael after this deep dive, you can find him online at chicagodealflow.com.
Definitely.
But for now, get ready because we're about to uncover some hidden gems in Chicago's real estate scene.
These aren't your average tips either.
Right.
Michael's advice is all about finding those diamonds in the rough, those opportunities that can bring serious returns, especially for someone just starting out.
Exactly. He's all about strategic thinking, not just following the crowd. For example, he's a huge advocate for what he calls emerging neighborhoods.
Yeah, love that.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Emerging neighborhoods. Isn't that just a fancy way of saying risky?
Right, and a lot of people shy away from that,
Yeah.
but that's where Michael's take on it is pure gold.
Okay.
He's not just looking at neighborhoods that are trendy or getting buzz. He's looking for those specific indicators, almost like a detective at a crime scene.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
He says, look for those areas, seeing an influx of what he calls pioneering residents. Think young professionals, artists, entrepreneurs. They're often drawn to these neighborhoods because they're unique, they're a little more affordable, and you get that sense of possibility like something big is about to happen.
That's so interesting. So instead of just following the crowd, you're looking for those subtle signs of a neighborhood ready to take off.
Yeah, like predicting the next big thing before it's
Yeah,
big.
exactly.
And here's another one of Michael's pro tips. Look for signs of revitalization.
Okay.
Are new businesses popping up? Like independent coffee shops, art galleries, or breweries?
Yeah, those are always a good sign.
Right. Those are early indicators that a neighborhood is transforming into something fresh and exciting.
So we're talking about neighborhoods with a pulse.
Totally buzzing with creative energy and that feeling of anything is possible.
The kind of place that draws in people who want to be part of something new.
Exactly. And Michael points out that these up-and-coming areas, they're often full of investment opportunities because property prices haven't caught up with all the new people and businesses yet.
It's like getting in on the ground floor.
Precisely.
Okay, so we're on the hunt for those under-the-radar neighborhoods. But what about some specific areas in Chicago? Does Michael have any favorites?
Oh, he does. He mentioned Pilsen, Logan Square, and Bronzeville as great examples of those emerging neighborhoods that are drawing in smart investors.
Interesting. Those are all neighborhoods with a ton of character.
For sure.
Pilsen with its amazing murals and art everywhere. Logan Square with all the trendy spots. And Bronzeville with its rich history and culture. They each have their own unique vibe, which has got to be a big draw.
Absolutely. And Michael emphasizes that these neighborhoods are all well connected to the city center by public transit, which is key.
Yeah, it makes sense. Easy access to downtown is so important,
Yeah.
especially in Chicago, where people rely on public transit. So we've got our finger on the pulse of these emerging neighborhoods. But what about the types of properties to look out for?
Well, Michael's a big fan of mixed-use properties, especially for those just starting out in commercial real estate.
Okay.
They offer a great way to diversify your income streams, which is always a good idea.
Okay, diversification, got it. But I've got to be honest, the term mixed use always confuses me a little.
Yeah.
It seems kind of vague. Can you give me a visual? What's a typical mixed-use property in Chicago look like?
Picture this. You're walking down a lively street in Wicker Park, maybe grabbing a coffee at a cool little shop on the ground floor of this old brick building.
Okay.
Upstairs, there are apartments, maybe a small art studio or a yoga studio tucked away on the second floor. Boom, that's mixed use.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about residential or commercial. It's about blending the two to make a vibrant space.
Exactly. And for investors, that means multiple streams of income, a safety net in case one sector dips.
Right. So if that coffee shop hits a rough patch,
You've still got rent coming in from those apartments upstairs.
that's a smart way to manage risk.
Yeah.
And those ground floor retail spaces in popular spots like Wicker Park, I bet those are in high demand.
Oh, yeah, big time. It's a win-win.
It is. And you know what else is interesting? Michael mentioned that Chicago has a really cool history of what's called adaptive reuse, which can be a gold mine for investors.
Definitely.
Think about those old warehouses in the West Loop. Once home to industry, now transformed into those awesome lofts, co-working spaces, even breweries.
It's incredible what they've done with some of those spaces.
I love that, like taking something old and making it new again. And those spaces probably attract top dollars from renters looking for something different.
Oh, absolutely. They're unique.
Exactly.
Michael explained that those adaptive reuse projects can be a bit more work
Right.
than a typical renovation, but the payoff can be huge. You're basically making a one-of-a-kind property.
It's like finding a diamond in the rough and polishing it up to see its true beauty. Now, I've heard Michael talk about investing in small multifamily properties in Chicago. What's the sweet spot there in terms of size?
He usually recommends starting with something around 2 to 4 units.
Okay.
He says it's a really manageable place to start, especially when you're still kind of getting a feel for being a landlord.
Yeah, not exactly diving headfirst into a high-rise, which I gotta say sounds a bit overwhelming.
Right.
Yeah.
Starting small gives you a chance to learn as you go, build that confidence, and then you can always scale up as you get more experience under your belt. Plus, Michael points out those smaller multifamily buildings, they tend to attract a different type of renter, usually people looking for the long haul,
Right.
the ones who value stability and that sense of community.
Yeah, I can see the appeal.
Yeah.
Less turnover, less hassle for the landlord, which is a huge bonus when you're just starting out. Any Chicago neighborhoods come to mind that are known for attracting those stable long-term renters?
Oh, yeah. Michael highlighted a couple that are perfect for that lake view, first of all, with that gorgeous lakefront and those charming tree-lined streets. Tends to draw in young professionals and families who want a slightly more laid-back vibe. And then there's Andersonville, known for its cool shops and diverse restaurants, and that strong sense of community, which is a big plus.
Yeah, those neighborhoods have a reputation for being great places to put down roots, so it makes sense they'd attract those steady renters.
Yeah.
But what about investors who want to be a little more hands-on, maybe even tackle a project?
Michael's got some great advice for those folks, too. He's a firm believer in what he calls value-add opportunities.
Okay.
These are properties that might need a little love, maybe some sprucing up or minor renovations, but they've got the potential to bring in much higher rents once those improvements are done.
Okay. I like the sound of that. It's like taking something with good bones and giving it a fresh start, turning it into something really special.
Yeah.
Got an example?
Picture a classic Chicago, too flat in a prime spot, maybe a block from a park or a lively street. It might need some cosmetic updates, fresh paint, new kitchen and bathrooms, but nothing major structurally.
Okay, I'm with you.
And here's the thing with those strategic updates. You could seriously increase what you can charge for rent, bringing in those tenants who are happy to pay a premium for a modern and stylish place.
That's a win-win for everyone. Now, let's say I'm intrigued by Chicago commercial real estate, but not quite ready to jump into being a landlord just yet.
Yeah.
Any other ways to dip my toes in the water without going all in on owning a property?
Michael had a really cool suggestion for that. He recommended checking out real estate investment trusts, or REITs, as a way to get involved in the Chicago market without actually buying any physical property.
REITs. Okay, I've heard of them, but to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how they work. Can you break it down?
It's actually simpler than it sounds. A REIT is basically a company that owns and manages properties that generate income. Think office buildings, shopping centers, apartments, even hotels. When you invest in a REIT, you're basically buying shares of that company, and those shares represent your piece of those properties.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. It's like owning a slice of the pie without having to bake the whole thing.
Exactly. And there's a Chicago angle to this, too.
Right, you said Chicago focus.
You want to look for REITs that specifically target the Chicago market. That way you're directly invested in the city's growth and reaping the benefits from how well its real estate is doing.
So you're tapping into the potential of Chicago without having to handle the ins and outs of buying and managing individual property.
You got it. And here's another pro tip from Michael. Look for REITs with a diverse portfolio, meaning they own a mix of properties in different Chicago neighborhoods.
Got it. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Spread that risk. Maximize your chances of a solid return. Now, you mentioned technology earlier. I'm curious about its role in all of this. Real estate has always been a bit slow to adapt to technology, but it feels like things are changing fast.
You're right. Technology is everywhere these days, and real estate is no exception. How can investors use technology to their advantage?
One word. Data. Michael is all about data-driven decisions. He encourages investors to really dig into market trends, look at neighborhood demographics, even track property values over time. And the best part, a lot of this information is easy to find online through real estate platforms and apps.
It's incredible how much information is at our fingertips these days. It's like having your own team of analysts working behind the scenes.
Totally. And Michael had a great tip for using data. Look for what he calls leading indicators. These are like subtle hints that a neighborhood is about to take off. Things like an increase in building permits a jump in new businesses, or even a surge in online searches for homes in that area.
It's like being one step ahead of the game, predicting the future.
Exactly. Another tech tool Michael loves is virtual tour technology. He says it's a game changer, especially in a fast-paced market like Chicago where you don't want to waste any time.
Right.
Virtual tours let you get a feel for a place without having to physically go there, which can save you so much time and energy early on.
That's got to be a game changer for everyone
Oh,
involved.
for sure. And here's another tech tool Michael says is a must-have: online networking platforms. He's a huge advocate for connecting with other real estate professionals, industry experts, and even potential investors through places like LinkedIn and real estate
It's
forums.
like having a directory of contacts and resources right there in your pocket.
Exactly. Michael really stresses how important building a strong network is for any investor, especially those just starting out.
Right. Like finding your people.
Exactly. Having a network you can trust can make all the difference in navigating this world and avoiding those costly mistakes.
It's like having a team of mentors in your corner. Now, we've talked about finding those up-and-coming neighborhoods, exploring different types of properties, even using technology to our advantage. What other words of wisdom does Michael have for those aspiring real estate moguls out there?
Before we get to his final strategy, which is a good one, by the way, there's one more crucial thing Michael emphasized about making it in Chicago commercial real estate: embracing the power of partnerships.
Partnerships.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see how having a trusted partner could be a game changer, especially when you're new to all this. What are the main advantages of teaming up?
Michael pointed out a few key things that really stuck with me. First off, partnerships let you pool your resources, which can be huge when you're trying to get financing for bigger deals or spreading out the risk across multiple investments.
Right. Two heads are better than one.
Exactly. It's like having a financial teammate, someone to share the ups and downs with.
I like it.
Yeah.
But besides the financial side, what else makes partnerships so beneficial?
Michael said that having a partner gives you a valuable sounding board for your ideas, a source of support when things get tough, and even a fresh perspective on potential deals.
So it's like having a built-in advisor who's invested in your success.
Exactly. And here's a pro tip from Michael. When you're picking a partner, make sure you find someone who shares your values, your investment style, and your long-term goals.
It's like any good relationship, communication, trust, and a shared vision are key.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Now, for those who prefer to fly solo, at least in the beginning, what advice does Michael have for them?
Yeah, it's not for everyone.
He still emphasized how important it is to build a strong support network, even if you're going it alone. He suggested surrounding yourself with trusted advisors, people you can turn to for guidance expertise, and even a dose of reality when you need it.
Like building your own personal board of directors.
Exactly. And he stressed the importance of having a seasoned real estate attorney on your team, someone who knows the ins and outs of contracts, zoning laws, all the legal stuff. He also recommended finding a good accountant who specializes in real estate investing.
It's so important to have those financial experts in your corner. Anyone else we should add to the team?
Michael's a big advocate for finding a reliable contractor, someone who can handle those inevitable repairs and renovations.
Right, having someone you can trust to handle those things is crucial.
He said having a trustworthy contractor who understands your vision and your budget can make or break your projects. So yes, definitely add a good contractor to your speed dial.
Okay, dream team assembled. Now, you mentioned Michael had one last strategy up his sleeve, something for investors who prefer a more passive approach. What's the inside scoop?
His last piece of advice is to look into something called triple net lease properties, or NNN leases for short.
Okay.
He says they can be a great option if you're looking for a more hands-off way to invest in real estate.
Triple net lease. I
I-
got to be honest, that term has always confused me. It sounds kind of complicated, like something only seasoned investors deal with. Can you explain it in plain English? What is it and how is it different from a regular lease?
I'm happy to clear things up. In a typical lease, the landlord usually covers most of the property expenses, things like property taxes, insurance, and maintenance.
Right.
But with a triple net lease, those extra costs get passed on to the tenant on top of their regular rent.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So basically, the tenant is taking on some of the responsibilities that usually fall on the landlord, at least when it comes to those ongoing costs.
You got it. And it can actually be mutually beneficial.
Okay, how so?
The landlord gets a more predictable income stream because they don't have to worry about those fluctuating expenses cutting into their profits.
Makes sense.
And the tenant often gets a lower base rent compared to a traditional lease. So it's kind of a trade-off. Lower rent for the tenant in exchange for taking on more responsibility.
Interesting. I can see why that would appeal to certain tenants.
Yeah.
What kind of businesses typically go for these triple net leases?
You usually see it with commercial properties.
Hmm.
Think convenience stores, pharmacies, fast food restaurants,
Right.
businesses that need a long-term spot and want to minimize hassle.
Makes sense. They can just focus on running their business.
Exactly. And Michael highlighted something super important here. Location is key with triple net leases. You want properties in top-notch locations with high visibility and lots of foot traffic. That directly affects how well the tenant's business does, which of course impacts your rental income.
Right. It's all connected. But finding those prime spots with N&N leases must take some serious digging.
It definitely helps to know what you're doing. Michael suggests networking with commercial real estate agents who specialize in NNN leases, going to industry events, and even checking out online listings that focus on this type of property.
So many different avenues to explore. It seems like no matter what strategy you choose, being proactive, staying informed, and putting in the effort to make those connections is key in commercial real estate.
Absolutely. It's about being a smart investor, doing your homework, and never being afraid to ask questions or get advice from those who've already been down that road.
Michael definitely fits the bill. His insights have been so helpful, and I know our listeners are excited to put his advice into practice. Now, I'm curious about one last thing. Of all the strategies we talked about today, is there one that Michael seems most passionate about? One he thinks has the biggest potential for new investors in Chicago?
You know, it's funny you should ask that. While Michael sees value in all these different approaches, there's this spark in his eye when he talks about those emerging neighborhoods.
Right.
He really lights up at the idea of finding those hidden gems, those overlooked parts of the city that are just primed for growth.
It's like he enjoys the thrill of the hunt being a real estate detective.
Exactly. He's got this knack for seeing potential where others might not. He says it's all about digging a little deeper, looking beyond what's right in front of you to uncover those hidden treasures and possibilities.
Seeing the forest for the trees, as they say. But he did say that investing in those up-and-coming areas comes with its own set of risks.
Right. It's not for the faint of heart. Those areas are always changing. It's not a passive thing. It takes careful planning, being okay with a little uncertainty, and maybe most importantly, a long-term mindset.
So no get-rich-quick schemes here.
Definitely not. This is about putting down roots, becoming part of the community, and helping it grow over time.
It's about more than just making money. It's about making a difference.
Exactly. Michael's convinced that the people who do the best in those emerging neighborhoods are the ones who truly care about the community. The ones who see their investments as a way to not only make money, but also to be a part of something bigger.
They're invested in the community just as much as they're invested in the properties.
Exactly. You know, thinking back on everything we've learned from Michael today, one big theme stands out. Knowledge is key. He kept saying how crucial it is to do your research, really understand the market, and find those experts you can trust.
Absolutely. He's like a walking real estate encyclopedia, but he's also so down-to-earth and generous with his time and knowledge. It's clear he really wants to help others succeed.
That's what makes this whole deep dive so valuable. It's like we got a crash course in Chicago commercial real estate from one of the best in the business.
It's been an amazing journey for sure. We talked about those hidden gem neighborhoods, uncovered some property gold, decoded those tricky lease agreements, and even explored the world of REITs and technology.
We've covered so much ground. I know our listeners are walking away with a ton of knowledge and a whole new level of confidence to tackle the Chicago real estate scene.
Speaking of which, for those who want to learn even more directly from Michael, how can they connect with him and pick his brain?
He encourages anyone interested in Chicago real estate to head over to his website, chicagodealflow.com.
Perfect.
You'll find a treasure trove of resources there, articles, market reports, even info about his consulting services.
Awesome. I'm definitely checking that out. So as we wrap up this deep dive, if you had to sum up Michael's wisdom into one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
He gave us so many great insights, but I think it comes down to this. Approach real estate with a sense of curiosity, a willingness to learn, and a genuine passion for the city you're investing in.
I love that. It's not just about the dollars and cents. It's about connecting with the heart and soul of the city.
Exactly. When you do that, when you bring that kind of energy and vision to real estate, the possibilities are truly endless.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Ah.
Huge thanks to Michael Litton for sharing his incredible insights with us today. And to our listeners, we hope this deep dive has inspired you to explore the amazing world of Chicago commercial real estate. Remember, knowledge is power. Curiosity is your compass, and with a little effort, you can find those hidden gems and make your real estate dreams a reality. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.